Hello and welcome back to part 15 of modeling a Mustang on Fusion 360. In this episode, I'll be talking about how I added the headlight feature and kind of the fog lights. It's fairly straightforward. At the start, I think at this point, I'm just having a look around the model, just kind of deciding what I'll do next. But what I end up deciding is, like I've said, the headlights. So the reason why I opted to do this next, there are a few features similar to this, like the rear kind of not what would you call it? Around the boot space, there's some kind of detailing. There's also the wing mirrors, and there's also the front fender. But the headlights felt like the next step for me. So I'd already created a plane that was outside the car, which is this one here. And I wanted to create my sketch outside. Like I've said before, you don't have to do this, but I always find it's just quite good practice. So if you look really closely, you can actually see this canvas is not even like straight. If you look where the mirror line is in the middle, at the center of the canvas it looks fine, but if you look lower to the screen, you can see that the stripes are kind of more to the left. So that tells me the model is not right at all. So what I actually do here is I draw the circle offside of the canvas, like not in line with the headlight on the car. What I really should have done is just straighten the canvas out. I should have done that right at the beginning, but it wasn't so noticeable, and also all my features are mirrored, so everything's still symmetrical. But what I actually do is move the canvas down to line up with that new headlight, because that front edge of the bonnet is now level with the front edge in my surface. So like I said before, this is not an accurate representation. This is not an extremely accurate model, and so don't. This isn't obviously what you do in real world practice, but just for making a model, it's fine. And another reason why I had to move these kind of circles is because the perspective of the image kind of blows it out a bit. So earlier on, I was using this to model the sides of the car, and the top of the car, but for the bonnet, because the perspective of the drawing is different, I've actually had to move the image. So here I try to use mirror lines as much as possible when I'm working on a model like this, a symmetric model. I try to use mirror lines in general quite a lot. There's no point in drawing like multiple entities like twice. So by using the mirror feature, it's a very quick way to, make everything symmetrical. And here I'm just using a fit point spline tool to model the grill kind of area. I could use a 3-point arc tool like I've done before, but I opt for the fit spline tool because in this situation it is more convenient. It's not always, but in this situation it certainly is. It's also quicker. Yeah. If you and again I mirror this across, but if you look here, you can see that the line, it's clearly the canvas isn't level, hence why the sketch isn't perfectly aligned. And at the time I was kind of okay with this, but retrospectively I am kind of disappointed with myself, and it's something I would go back and change to make sure that canvas was right from the get-go. So as you can see, the headlights have been extruded now. So what happened is I just lost some footage. I'm not sure if it was ever recorded. I might have thought I was recording and I didn't. You didn't miss too much though, so it was just an extruded cut of the grill of the sketch we'd already done, and extruding the lights out. Yeah, I knew that there were small sections. I kind of forgot to film slash perhaps I missed, but what you missed was me projecting the line that's on the bonnet onto my sketch, then extruding out the light shapes and cutting out the grill. The line that appears to split the headlights is the projected geometry line. And also, if you look here, you can remember blue sketches are unconstrained, so just constrain them. But you'll see shortly what I was talking about with that split projection, kind of projecting a line off the body to use in the sketch. So yeah, really at this stage I should definitely be constraining things. You know, it is really essential. Like, I think a lot of people go on about it as like, oh, it'll move around in your model. I think that was the case when I used to model a lot. Like when I was just starting out on modeling. Programs seem to be a lot more stable now. That doesn't mean don't constrain things. By all means, when you can, do constrain. But yeah, just know that not everyone does. So here I've projected geometry, and now you can see how it splits up those sketches, those circles. And the reason why I have to do this is because when you project with the surface being the body itself, for some reason in Fusion 360, these kind of lines, despite not actually dividing anything, it's still like a solid car. Those lines don't indicate like cuts or anything. They're just kind of panels, I guess, for Fusion to be able to come to terms with it. But you can see here I can only select that small amount and then select the corresponding part of body. So you see how it extrudes the cut there, which, yeah, that's basically what you missed me doing with the headlights. That's how the headlights have got that split line going through them. It seems like a stupid CAD procedure to do this, and that's because it is. It's times like this where I miss SolidWorks the most. So in Fusion, for some reason, you have to sketch all the profiles that kind of line up with the bodies, which I think is bizarre. On SolidWorks, they have a tool called Extrude Up to Next, and that will, like, lines like this won't affect that at all. So this is quite frustrating. Having to do this on both sides, I don't want to do that. And to be honest, you can see the way the sketch is kind of curving around the side of the car. It's not what I want either. But you can kind of get to grips with how moronic this is. So what I do is I delete one of the extrusions and I shrink the circle. I want to see if it'll work with a smaller circle. Because I don't want, as you could see before, how it kind of tapered around the side of the car. Realistically, I want my headlights to be bang on with the car. Well, these aren't the headlights, these are kind of fog lights, but realistically, I want them to be bang on in line with the canvas in the image. But like I said, the image isn't perfect, and you can see how it's still tapering around the side, and I really don't want that. And also, a modern light would, but a light in that time wasn't having complex curvature like this. You can see in the canvas in the background how the light is, well, there we go, how it's perfectly circular. And so having having that weird extrusion doesn't make sense for the kind of the period of when this car was produced. So what I actually do is I get rid of the idea of doing what I did with the headlights, which is extruding from the body, extruding from the surface, and instead I extrude from the sketch plane, which we'll get onto shortly. So, yeah. I could have just selected all the profiles. What I actually do here, edit the sketch, and I just get rid of them in the sketch themselves. I didn't have to. I could just select the separate profiles, but I don't know. It feels nicer not to have entities that are obsolete in your model. Like, you can go by with them being there, but to be honest, it's just good practice to get rid of them. So now I'm extruding from the plane that I drew the sketch on instead of from the body of the car. What that means is when it cuts into the car, it will be flat rather than curving in the shape of the car. You see there how it creates a flat surface, which it wasn't achieving before. So I'm a lot more pleased with this way, because it also means creating the kind of light to go on there will be a simpler job for me. So this is, at the moment, I'm doing the cutout for where the light's going to go, how it has it on the car. Obviously, it's not as perfectly smooth around the edges, and I can fillet that out and make it much smoother. But what I want is just those sockets to be looking correct, and they look a lot better. They're still not kicking out. They're still kicking out a bit, so I kind of want to bring them in. So now adding a few dimensions to the distance, just giving me an editable kind of value, making my life a little easier. Didn't need to do that. What I should do is add a dimension for the diameter of the circle while in that sketch plane to add another constraint to it. And to be honest, I don't know why I didn't. But there you can see, now it's not sliding around the side, and I've got a flat surface to work on. So that looks a lot better. And you can see how we're almost there with the car. It's things like this that, like, making sure that you include these details that really improve kind of the model. So with the other cars that I've made in the past, I hadn't gone into so much detail, and I know this isn't extreme detail. I could add like textures to the lights if I want. I could add an interior if I needed, but it's more detailed than I'd done any other car at the time, even at this stage. Just adding in those front lights and that cutout for the grille, and it really kind of turns it in from what looks like a car body made out of solid plastic into something that could be an actual car. Anyway, that's it for this video. Sorry that there's a bit of missing footage. I hope that wasn't too difficult to understand. Yeah, thanks for watching.